consequences. Our webinar is designed for those expats who are living and working in Vietnam. However, for multiple reasons, they couldn't return to their family and their countries. They didn't anticipate pandemic breakout and were not prepared mentally and physically. Moreover, they encountered language barriers and received no support. Some even got infected and had no isolate themselves. So today we honor to have our distinguished guest, Dr. Phương Nguyễn Lê, educator and psychologist. He was a former lecturer at Chapman University and California State University at Long Beach. And our webinar will cover 4 parts. Part 1 will tap off stress and the neurobiology of stress. Part 2, cognitive, emotional, and physical effect of stress. Part 3, self-care approach to mindfulness and awareness to deal with challenge during the COVID-19 pandemic. And part 4, exchange and share with the presenter. Now you can raise questions directly to Dr. Phương Lê via the comment section of the Vaccine fan page or USSA fan page. We will compile and send your question to our speaker in the Q&A section at the end of the webinar. In order not to waste your time, let's welcome Dr. Lê for his presentation.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be the presenter at this workshop. As we know that the pandemic has been with us for more than 2 years, and myself, I'm a US citizen, and I lived in America for more than 28 years, and somehow I could be considered an expat stuck in Vietnam in the past 2 years. I just made the trip back to California last week, and here I'm, launching this workshop from California. And again, welcome to the workshop, and thank you everyone for being here this morning. Let's talk a little. Most of the time, it's the custom, to make some introduction about myself. So just a quick one. Got my doctoral degree from the Educational Leadership Program at USC, Southern California. I was a school psychologist at Long Beach Unified School District in the past more than 18 years, and I was an adjunct faculty at the graduate programs, school psychology and school counseling, both at Cal State Universities as well as Chapman University. All of these universities are located in Southern California. And in 2011, I was chosen by the International School Psychologists Association as the first recipient of the Outstanding International School Psychology Practice. And and also Fulbright specialist of the U.S. Department since 2014 to 2019. I made a trip back to Hue, to help the university to develop the program for specific learning disability assessment and intervention. And in order to bring school psychology to Vietnam, my American friends and Vietnamese friends founded a consortium to advance school psychology in Vietnam. So, and the current graduate programs, the curriculum of the graduate program at Hanoi National University of Education and Hanoi University of Education, I helped to develop, and I also am an author of the series I call Trong Hoang Mang, teaching, raising children in confusion. Okay, so basically that's and in the past 3 years, I live in Vietnam and contributing my effort in building psychology and pedagogy in Vietnam, teaching private school, training teacher, private school, and doing workshop for banks and other corporation. Okay, and here I am. I've been collaborating with USSH to launch this seminar to you. Okay, let's jump into the topic of today, talking about stress and types of stress. What is stress? Stress basically is the inability to cope with a perceived or real threat. Okay, let's focus on perceived and real threat. I mean, it's a blessing and also a curse that human being has the ability to maintain reality through our mental representation and prolong it, store it in our long-term memory, and we retrieve it and play with that, manipulate with it to plan for future or to review and evaluate our past experiences. And that's a problem because sometimes we face a threat, it's over already. However, I mean, at night, a week later, or even for some person, a year or 2 years later, the past continues to haunt us through our, mental representation retrieved from our long-term memory. So it could be a perceived, it could be a real, I mean, it happens in front of us here. And it is a threat to our mental, physical, emotional, and even spiritual well-being. And it results in a number of physiological as well as psychological response and adaptation. But with Palmer, he has a different definition. He say that only when the situation exceeds our ability to cope. And again, he used the word perception there. What does it mean? Because a situation is, however, it depends on how we evaluate the situation also. Okay. Let's talk about type of stress. According to APA, American Psychology Association, first of all, we have acute stress. It's the body immediate reaction to, stressor, short term, and can either positive or more distressing. So I will talk about positive, okay? And then we have episodic stress. The episodic stress happens when we have several acute stress, and it creates an ongoing distress. For instance, like we are now living in the pandemic. Okay, that is a episodic stress. Okay, it could last for several months, or it could last a year, off and on. And however, most of the time it depends on our perception and evaluate of the situation. Chronic stress is completely different. Chronic stress, a prolonged one. I mean, how it happens? It happens when you have a chronic illness, when you live constantly, I mean, perpetually in poverty, when you are a group of citizens who are discriminated by the government, like most of the Black African Americans in the United States. I mean, I lived there and for more than 28 years, and I perceive it in firsthand what a certain discrimination. So it's more like a situational, but when the people feel trapped. Chronic stress at a different level is, for instance, like people who are stuck in a relationship, the marital relationship, and with an abusive spouse. I use spouses here, including husband and wife. So they cannot feel like they are trapped, they're stuck, they cannot escape it. But the good side is the eustress. The eustress is, a stressor that are challenging, but attainable, overcomable, and sometimes even enjoyable. That After you overcome it, you feel exhilarated, you feel like energetic, all of those things. So that is eustress. And this is, you can see that, there's some glider here. There's an increase of stressor with the certain situations very demanding, but at the same time, your perception. So for instance, like at this level, my right hand here is the level of stressor, and this one is your perception or evaluation. But if it's go very low here, then it could become a stress for you. But if your perception, your ability to cope with stress is very high here, so it doesn't affect much. For sure, certain stress, especially when it's a threat to your survival, it's always beyond our ability to cope. For instance, like torture. For instance, like being attacked by a tiger in the jungle. For instance, like if you live it constantly in danger, being robbed, being raped, being executed by certain, authorities, then that's a chronic stress and nobody could cope with that regardless. If you take a ton of seminar or workshop like this, you are unable to cope with that. So any threat to your survival, that is something that still a negative stress regardless, okay? But taking a trip on the roller coaster, the stress. I would like to elaborate a little bit here so you could perceive. For instance, do you remember the first time you take a trip, a road trip with your family? The night before the trip, you felt excited, okay? You couldn't sleep, okay? Your mind raced with a lot of thoughts, images of the future trip. And that is actually stress. But you could be young, you could have a very positive, foresee or prediction, about anticipation about the future. So it's not stress. Oh, take another example. Tonight, you have a date with your, how to say it, Tinder. No, Tinder is not very appropriate. With your friends, a blind date. You feel like, oh, your mind racing with a lot of racing thoughts. You look forward to that, and that is stress. But it depends on how you evaluate it. It could be a eustress or could be a negative stress, okay? If you're old, like me, I'm 60. If you're old and your heart vessel, your blood vessel is now very brittle, small with a lot of plaque, you feel like tired, looking forward to something exciting like that. So it becomes negative stress. So your evaluation, your mental and physical state plays a big role in stress evaluation. Okay, so keep that in mind. And perception is reality. Most of you must have known this saying. A situation becomes stressor when it's perceived novel. It means new. We have some Vietnamese participants here, so sometimes I need to explain a word. This is not for those who speak English. Okay. Unpredictable, not controllable by the individual, and a social evaluative threat. Why a social evaluative threat? Because now, most of the time, I could say all of the time, we live in this society. We don't meet tiger, we meet our boss, okay? Or maybe our spouse, that's a tiger, oh, social tiger, okay? Not in the jungle anymore. So before our ancestor, we see a tiger, a mammoth, a saber tooth. Of course, at that time, human didn't exist, so I shouldn't mention those animals. But anyway, a tiger, a snake, leopard, cheetah, all of those things could be a threat to ourselves. But now we live in the city, okay? A threat is something socially considered a threat to our fame, our money, our reputation, all of those things. Novel, it means new, okay? That's acute threat here. Unpredictable, okay? We cannot see how, what the outcomes is, and we cannot control it. We cannot control it in the social relation, or we don't have the skill to cope with this kind of stress. So look at that. And just by looking at the slide, you see that the pandemic here, okay? Novel. Is that novel? Yes. I mean, this is the chance of a lifetime, unpredictable. Yes. I mean, we expect. In June 2018, I moved back to Vietnam, kind of half retirement and plan to do something with the psychology, the field of psychology over there. During 2 years of the pandemic, I was stuck, trapped, couldn't afford it. Could you believe that? I mean, the flight rate to the US now is 5 times, very expensive. So novel, unpredictable, not control. How could I control the virus? Okay. And not beside a social evaluative threat, that is also a physical evaluative threat there. Okay. So at this time, I would like to mention about Yerkes and Dodson law. It's very old, could say like 100 years ago, but the stress level is related to our performance, okay? The stress, the more demanding, our pressuring that we experience, it would reduce our, ability to cope with stress. But a little bit stress is good, especially when you participate in a test or athlete match, like a match, in sport. With certain stress level, your adrenal gland release the adrenaline into your blood streams, and it helps you to push up the performance, but not, and if it's too much, you burn out, you collapse. If not, if too low, you don't feel good. Are not motivated. I mean, to perform. Okay, and it becomes, very boring, for you. Okay, so certain level of stress, and same thing with level. Same thing happens in relationship. Too much lack of stimuli. So boring. Okay, too much. Talk too much. Someone talk too much all of the time. All of the time, arguments are, provocation, then too much stress. Your performance goes down. Okay, so that's the basic, about stress. Okay, you can see that stress could be used stress, could be negative stress. It depends on the type of stress and also how you perceive, how you evaluate stress, okay, the situation. Okay, let's talk about biological mechanism. Most of the time, most of the presenter would not go to this section. I myself, I'm much into neuroscience, so I would like to present with you with this, and you will understand more about the intervention. Okay, why those interventions are based, okay, are developed. Okay, first of all, we must know about the autonomous nervous system. In our body, we have two types of nervous system, the main one and the peripheral one. The main one, we have the brain and the spinal cord. For the peripheral nervous system, we have the autonomous nervous system. Actually, the autonomous nervous system has three branches. The sympathetic nervous system, look at the second lower part of the slide. Then you have the parasympathetic nervous system, and you also have an enteric nervous system. But for the sake of this presentation, I would like to mention only two main divisions. Okay, what they do, basically they do everything. They do especially involuntary physiological processing, including your heart rate, blood pressure, everything. Okay, we can control it though. Even is say involuntary, but if some techniques, especially meditation, you could affect it. You get affected. Okay, sympathetic nervous system. When you perceive, again, perceive. When you perceive a situation as a threat, your sympathetic nervous system is activated. It activates the fight, or flight response. That is a state of overall elevated activity in attention and body to help us ready to face the challenge. Okay, and then when we perceive the threat is over, then our parasympathetic nervous system is activated. Okay, so it promotes the rest and digest processing. Everything goes down, calm and cool, and there's a term for that, like slug. It means that basically all of the water or fluids in your body now are released. Types of fluids, okay, um, uh, phlegm, saliva, all of those like milk, lactation, and especially the bile in your, bile duct, in your digestive system, all of those activated. Okay, but when we see a threat, okay, the sympathetic nervous system, is activated. How is activated? Okay, it's based on the HPA acid. What is HPA? H stands for the hypothalamus. The second one, P stands for pituitary gland, and the third one is an adrenal gland. So when we perceive something as a threat, our amygdala, responsible for the emotion, especially fear, in our limbic system, it will send a signal to our hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus will send information to the pituitary gland, and the gland will send hormone ACTH to our kidney, actually the gland above the kidney, and from that, cortisol and epinephrine and non-epinephrine is released. There's another term for epinephrine, a more common one is adrenaline. Okay, adrenaline. And epinephrine, do you remember that when someone is allergic to like peanut, we have like a pen, epi pen, and we stick it to the kid or the person and help with the, fight the allergic reaction, that is epinephrine. Okay, it helps, But just imagine that if you continue to be stressed, then cortisol, epinephrine continues to flow in the bloodstream. It will cause a lot of damage for our body. Okay, here, when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, we goes into the fight or flight. Our pupil is dilated, it inhibits the salivation because it's not the time to digest anything. It's time to fight or to run, not to eat, okay? And the adrenaline is in the bloodstream. It helps increase the heartbeat Heartbeat to do what? To push the blood to our limbs, ready to fight or to run away. Okay. And relax the airway for what? To increase the volume of oxygen consumed in our body. Okay. And all of the next you will see that it stops the digestive process. When we perceive the threat is over, then the parasympathetic nervous system is activated, and then we slow our heartbeat, the saliva is released. Okay, we don't need to open our eyes to see the enemy clearly anymore, so our pupils is constricted. Whenever I look at this chart, that I remember the Red Riding Hood. When the Red Riding Hood is standing next to her grandmom bed, and actually a wolf, pretended to be her grandmom, and the girl, they would say, Red Riding Hood would say, "Oh, grandmom, why your eyes are so large? Why your ears so large? And why your mouth is so large?" I remember that. I mean, the wolf is in the sympathetic nervous system activated, mode here, and it's ready to swallow, to devour, the child, okay? So just remember that's a story when you think that you are a wolf activated, but in this case, it could be a fear, okay? So how could you perceive stress symptoms? It's important because if you don't recognize it, you don't know how to deal with everything. It means everything in life. You need to recognize the symptoms and you have it and deal with it. I divide the symptom into 4 quadrants: emotionally, physically, somatic, physically, cognitive, and behavioral. Okay, behaviorally. So you can see that insomnia, compulsive eating, insomnia, hypersomnia, social isolation, addiction is a means to run away, to escape stress, substance abuse is a way to escape stress. What happened with behavior? Most of the time, you will do something to run away from that, to compensate for that. And the funny thing is sometimes people with stress, they cannot sleep, but sometimes they oversleep. And how about cognitive? You will see forgetfulness. It affects your hippocampus. Research indicates that whenever the amygdala, because of a lot of stress or fear or sadness in life, its size increase, then the size of the hippocampus, which is responsible for memory consolidation, is reduced, decreases. Okay, so you can see the forgetfulness, all of those things, poor judgment, poor concentration. And what happened with this organization? Poor judgment, poor concentration. When we are in fear, the limbic system I mentioned before override the cortex. During evolution, the cortex developed the last. And when we are in fear, it's not time to think. When we are in war, when you stand in front of the tiger, it's not time to say, "Oh, what should I do about that? It is a tiger." Okay, running away is not, running away from the tiger is good or bad. It's not time to think. In America, we have saying that's analysis paralysis. That's it is. You can overthink. Okay, so for cognitive, when we are in fear, when we are in stress, the limbic system overrides the cortex. It's not time to think, and we react, and that's we have a behavior problem there. For emotional, yeah, anxiety, anger, irritability. With kids, when they're stressed, they show their anger, they show their irritability. They don't feel like, they don't tell you, oh, I'm stressed. You know, most of the time, like emotion will, their emotional problem manifest itself as a behavior problem or the somatic problem. Low energy, headache, tense muscle, chest pain, all of those things are, the squeeze on your, stomach. Okay. Uh, when the stress is prolonged, then you have all of the problem, physical health, okay, mental health. Okay. When, I experienced this, I put it in, in 2015, when I when I had been a chair of my consortium for 2 years, too much work. I felt so stressed. And my colleagues didn't help much. So I had packed PAC, premature atrial contraction, during stress. I had to take medication for like 3 months. And I thought that I'm getting old. Whenever I like try to go up like a flight of stair, I had to stop to catch my breath. And I thought that, man, my life's doomed. There's no, but after I say that, oh, I should resign, and I arrange for other people to take over the organization. Then a couple months later, all of these symptoms disappear. Yeah, if you are in the situation for too long, and what the indication? At night, when you wake up, and the first thing comes to your mind, you feel like you cannot go back to sleep. You stay up for like 1 or 2 hours, and your mind is racing. Then it is you are stressed because of the first thing appear in your mind when you get up in the middle of night. Okay, so be careful. But worse than that, fortunately, I didn't have that. But in health, research literature, they mention about the tachycardia, cardiomyopathy, your heart. Basically, there's another term, common term, a broken heart. Broken heart not because you lost the love of someone. It could be a stress, all right? If you have a broken heart, actually you have a tachycardia syndrome. They also call it, stress cardiomyopathy. That's a way your heart is, muscular is weakened. Okay, and your heart just look like the device to catch octopus and squid. In Japan, taco, it means that's the jar you see in the picture B, to catch the octopus or the squid. Okay, your heart will look like that if you have experienced a lot of stress. Causes, it is, but let's go deeper. Internal factor. First of all, do you have self-defeating belief? Achievement, depression, anxiety, love, anxiety, submissiveness, okay, and demanding, other. For instance, like love, approval, addiction. It means that you always need approval from anyone for you to feel worthwhile. Okay. Or you like perfectionism. You always want to do the best, but the best here is mostly imaginative. Okay. Regardless, you always find fault in your work. That is perfectionist. If you try to do your best, in a company, that's good. But sometimes people, like, Asian people, I mean, there's a joke in America. Whenever Asian student get an A, they consider that average. And a B is bad. Okay, C is come, and D is disowned. Yes, you got an D, you are disowned by your parents. That's perfectionism. High achieving, but low self-esteem. Okay, so some other cognitive stress, like submissiveness, like you always want to please others. Whenever they ask you to do something, you rush over and you help, regardless of your physical, psychological condition. Because you are afraid of losing a relationship, or you are afraid that, people will scold you, and all of these cognitive stress, that's wrong, or non-adaptive lesson learned from your experience. And sometimes they are indoctrinated by your parents, try to be perfection, you must be the top of your class, same with teacher. Okay, so that's a cognitive stressor. What self-defeating beliefs causing you stress? You can write it down. If you have a piece of paper in front of you, you can write down. Okay, emotional stressor: worry, sad, beauty, get angry, anxiety. Yes, you would say, no, this is the manifestation of stress. But at the same time, you have those emotions, it will become a stressor also, especially when people react to their emotion. Some people who have anger and say, why I'm have anger? I should be calm all of the time. Yes, it become your emotion become a stress. Next, behavior. Behavior is actually your way to run away, escape stress. But if but inadvertently, they are stressed. They turn back. Torture you. Shopaholic, workaholic, alcoholic, and even something very good is like, sickaholic. Sick becomes something like stressor. Oh, I need to plug in the power cord. Give me 1 second. Okay. Here it is. Okay, let's move on. I plugged it in. It doesn't. The thing is good to go. Anyway. Oh, wrong one. I plugged in the wrong. What it is? Okay, good. Okay, sorry about that. Now we talk about physical stressor, chronic illness. Hey, don't mention that you have COVID. For sure, it's a illness that's the most stressor for us right now, right? Chronic pain. Okay, stress can cause chronic pain, but if you have chronic pain, it's also stress. Okay, it also causes stress. Harsh physical labor. I hope that you are expat. You come to Vietnam, you don't have to do harsh physical labor, but hard physical labor is also a stressor. Okay, external factors. Okay, social stressor, conflict with others, especially significant others, very important. Bullying. I hope that you don't experience bullying. From others, could be. And you have in the toxic relationship. or you have experienced traumatic events like a friend that passed away, because of COVID. Okay, pandemic stressor. Here we come. Fear of infection. Sure. Okay. Fear of having family members or acquaintances or friends infected with the virus. Okay. And we have a flood of COVID-19 related to news all over media. And this is new. I mean, uh, here, a professor from UC San Diego did research on the effect of uh, social media, especially using the screen, telephone or tablet. There's a relationship between that users and depression. But recently, there are at least more than 10 research studies published in the past 2 years indicating a link between screen uses and mental health problems. So, especially when we use a lot of screen time to check on news, for sure it will cause a lot of stress, not only stress, anxiety and depression. And here I would like to mention stress, the acronym of stress, anxiety, and depression is SAD, S-A-D. Okay. So I don't know if some of you may be US citizens or Americans. I mean, do you remember 20 years ago when 9/11 happened? I myself, my eyes were glued to the screens, you know, 10 hours, 12 hours per day. It caused a lot of stress during that time. The more we watch, the more we are stressed, and the more we stress, we kind of paralyzed, and we continue to glue our eyes to the screen. Okay. Another problem with the pandemic here is the pandemic restriction, social distancing, social isolation. Research indicates that with only 10 days of isolation, especially like people in prison, it could cause damage to their mental ability, to the condition, up to like 3 years after. That's scary. That's scary. I mean, social distancing is a problem here. Change of daily routine. Why we need daily routine? Now, when daily routine help us to feel secure, to feel like we are able to control the situation. When there's a certain change in our daily routine, we feel like nothing we can wrap up, to rely on. Okay. And another thing is uncertainty about our future. Employment, uh, infection, relationship, residency, that's a lot of things. I mean, and sometimes be torn, like go back to to our countries or to stay in Vietnam. That's a problem also. And we talk about the negative prospect of employment. It comes with financial and employment instability. And sometimes when we have children living here with us, we have problem. With parenting responsibility when school closed down. Okay. So what stressed you out the most during this pandemic? All of those are stress. What stressed you most? Take note, take the mental note, for that. It's bad trapped overseas. I feel I share the same mentality with you guys. Yeah. Being an American US citizen for, and living in America for nearly 30 years. Coming back and being trapped, in Vietnam, it's not it's not a good experience if we don't have a lot of resources and we have internal and external resources to help us overcome it. And we talk about that later. Okay, what would help us to overcome this? What happened here due to COVID? We are stuck here, and sometimes, based on research, Australians, they feel like they are abandoned by their own country when their country refused for them to come back. We become unemployed. Like in the year of 2020, I didn't have any income, any revenue. Okay. And we lack access to health, sometimes lack of access to healthcare services. There's a lot of things for us living in a foreign country. Common stressors first here, lack of access to physical mental health services, lack of accurate and applicable information in one's own language. A lot of rumor, a lot of news going on, but if like I am a US citizen, if we rely on the news piece from the embassy, man, it's not enough. Once in a while you receive something in the email, it's not enough at all. Like a communication means with local authority and other. Fortunately, I have that because I speak bilingual, so I can speak Vietnamese. But for a lot of you guys out there, for sure, it's not easy to communicate in the language like Vietnam, even if you like Vietnamese, even you have been living in Vietnam for several years. And then shortage of financial resources, especially cash, okay? Employment, financial instability, and feeling of alienation, isolation, and homesickness. All of those things. That's how I could say uh, fate during the 2 year pandemic. Okay, there's a survey here, a questionnaire here. You can use it to consider to understand if you have stress. I mean, that's long, and so maybe I will send it to USSH, and they will send it to you later to check if you feel you are stressed or not. Okay, it's not adapted to the pandemic, but you can use it. I mean, for instance, to consider to evaluate your condition. For instance, like I take fewer than 5 alcoholic drinks every week. Okay. For some people, it's relative. For some people, that's too much. I myself, I rarely drink. So maybe fewer than 5 alcohols. That's good, that's not. But if I drink fewer than 3 cups of coffee, I do something for fun. There's a lot of question related to the your ability to cope. Okay. Like I'm in good physical health. That's a positive indication. Okay. I have appropriate weight for my height. I rarely attend club or social activity. So I will send this questionnaire to you later. Okay. Now the main point: how you cope with daily and pandemic stress. This is funny. I mean, okay, you need to touch, you need to yawn, you need to wash, you need to take a shower, and you need to breathe. If you feel like you're stressed, and how do you feel like you are stressed right now? Okay, pay attention to your shoulder. Do you feel like your shoulder is raised up like this? It's very tight. Do you feel like, okay, it's in a good position, but that means there's some tension? The first thing you could recognize is tense, and then tired, and then pain. They go by step like that: tense, tired, and then pain. Okay, maybe I should look for another word for pain so we can have a T to create a triple T for signs of stress. Okay, but I mentioned again, tense, tired, and pain. And then you touch the muscle on your jaw here. You push it. If you feel like pain, yes, it is. Because when you stress, you often clench your teeth. Some people, they even need a dental guard at night because, they grind their teeth or they bite very, tight because the stress. That's a, involuntary reaction to your stress. But you will see that your teeth, is the teeth 1 hour and you feel pain when you touch the muscle on your jaw. And sometimes how could you see that if you are in stress, touch the sides of your belly. If you feel like they tense, they constricted, then you are in stress. Okay? Immediate physical stress relief. How could you do that? First of all, you need to touch your lip. With lips, okay, there's a lot of neurons on your lips. Okay, very sensitive. So when you touch it, you rub it, slowly. It could help release stress. Okay. Maybe at this time, most of you would think about a kiss. Yes. If you know how to kiss, it could help release a lot of stress. But not as Romeo. In Romeo and Juliet, after kissing, after Romeo kissed Juliet, Juliet told Romeo that you kiss like a book. Okay, kissing like a book, how the book is very pedantic, it's not, it doesn't help. Okay, if and not a French kiss, but you can rub it and you can, Loan laugh. I don't know. She's too young to know about a French kiss, but anyway, but just the lips, okay? It could lower your stress level. Then you need to yawn. Have you ever felt very exhausted, but you cannot sleep? Okay, in that case, you need to practice yawning. And yawning is very contagious. You can turn on YouTube for people who yawn and you watch it and you yawn. When you yawn, the first thing you see is that your eyes become tearing, and you feel like your nose, there's some liquid, fluid in that. So the body go into the parasympathetic nervous system. So it releases the fluid in your body. So keep on yawning to feel relaxed. Yawn would help. Then you need to wash your face. Here, they are the contraindication for people who have high blood pressure, okay? Because how do you do that? You wash your face. Find a very cold sink of water. Fill your sink with a lot of cold water. Push your head down until you not suffocated, but when you cannot stay underwater anymore, you lift your face up like this. And the sudden change in temperature will help you release stress. Okay? That's wash. The fourth way to do that is take a shower, especially take a shower, and you could use the bathtub. But with a shower, have you ever recognized that when you enter a shower room, you turn the water down, what happened to your body? Loan?
Yes.
Do you know what happens? This may not very gentleman to ask you this, but I'm too old enough to ask such a question. But and anyway, it's our physical condition, not big deal. Do you
You,
notice?
I don't know clearly about that. Can you can you repeat your question again?
Okay. You go into a shower room. You
Yes.
turn on the water. You stand next to the water, water from the shower.
Yes.
You have an urge to do that. What?
Oh, I just think about when I go to the bathroom and I take a shower. I feel relaxed because whenever I go to that room, I turn on the music or turn on the candlelight, and I feel like I'm relaxed and I feel like I come back to nature.
Oh, okay. That's a lot of imagination. I mean, imposed on reality. You need to take a Vipassana class. I mean,
Yeah.
you will have a chance to observe your bodily reaction to the environment. And people, I mean, to make it short, um, people, when they go into the bathroom, okay, and especially using the shower head, when the water runs down, you have the urge to urinate, to pee. Okay? And that is when your parasympathetic nervous system is activated. You feel rest and relaxed, and you feel like want to pee. Okay. Okay. That's shower. And you feel relaxed when you let water comes down on your head. Okay. Not too cold water, not too hot
Mhm.
body temperature.
Yeah.
And the last one is to breathe. Okay. Next, there's a lot of exercise. Person like square, they say that square breathe. You breathe in, like you count up to four. You stop your inhalation. Okay. You hold your breath for 4 seconds. You exhale 4 seconds and you hold your breath for 4 seconds. That's what they call the square breath, a breathing technique. Or you just pay attention to your breaths, just completely being absorbed into your breaths, okay? And imagine as if only your breaths exist, or, just let it be, you become oneself with your breath in and out. Okay. So you combine breathing technique with meditation. Okay. So remember, touch your lips, or if someone volunteer to kiss you, correctly, the good way. Okay. Not the Romeo's way. Then allow, him or her to do that. Yawn. Okay. If you cannot yawn, how could we how could we force ourselves to yawn? Just open your mouth. Okay. Open your mouth and hold it for a while. Then try to squeeze your body. Okay. And then you feel the urge to yawn. If not, both open your YouTube. Everything's on YouTube. Type it in. People yawning. And you see people yawn, you will yawn. Wash your face with cold water, even ice cold water. Shower. Stand next to the shower head with water running down, and then you step in. The water must be not too hot, not too cold, preferably your body temperature. And breathe. Breathe. When you breathe, could use a square breathing technique, or you can just pay attention to your breaths. That's it. Okay. Breathe. Okay. For cognitive strategy, I have this acronym for you, ABCDE. What is that? Okay. This is the approach for you to take when you are dealing with the pandemic. First of all, accept the reality. You cannot run away from that. You cannot change it. So accept the reality. Like a near-death experience or like a grief and loss process. You go through denial, okay, anger, bargain, depression, and eventually acceptance. So if you can have a schema or the mind frame that, yes, there's nothing I can do about that. So I can accept the reality. I don't run away from that. I don't fight that. I accept as it is. And the B stands for believe in yourself. You can use a question used in solution focus therapy. You will ask, how many times in the past have I overcome a challenge that I hadn't thought that I would be able to do so? You survive until now, right? So you must have the certain coping skill. You must have the stamina. You must have the energy. You must have the wisdom, to overcome a lot of bad things in your life. So believe in yourself. That's a B. C, commit to learn. New challenges requires new knowledge, new skills, okay, for making money, or for at least some breathing techniques, some meditation technique that you could use to release your stress. Before, whenever you stress, you go out and have a beer with some friends. But now with social distancing, you cannot do that anymore. So learn some meditation techniques, relaxation technique, commit to learn. Next, the D, dare to take risks. You remember what I said? Analysis, paralysis. Too much analyzation then could cause you paralysis. You just stuck there, trapped there, cannot move physically, mentally. Dare to take risks. Sometimes a breakthrough lies in the most dangerous situation. Eventually, like in a Squid Game and some other horrific Korean movies, you are facing a couple of doors. You have to make decision. You stay in the room, then the fire, the water, whatever, will kill you anyway. So make a decision. Dare to take risk. And the last one, crisis is a chance for opportunity. Crisis is an opportunity to transform yourself, to realize the meaning of existence. I don't make it up. I'm talking about Irvin Zalom, the one who created existentialist psychotherapy. Okay? Every crisis in our life, stress, depression, mental health problems, is opportunity to change, to transform ourselves. And here's an E, to elevate yourself to new meaning of existence. It's time to find your identity. It's time to reach your self-actualization, term coined by Abraham Maslow, to reach your destiny. We'll talk about Carl Roger, to finish your individuation. We mentioned Carl Jung. All of those big names and big guys out there always talk about, opportunity to find your true self and develop it to the utmost developmental transcendence, self. I believe that in our life, we have three purposes. The first one is survival. Next, maturity. Last, transcendence. And you look around, some people are still living in the survival mode. Okay. For them, living is like to stuff their stomach, to exhaust themselves through sex, chasing women or men or whatever. Some of them with the maturity, still working on their maturity, insecurity, attention seeking behavior. Some people go to transcendental. They go beyond the survival mode and maturity mode, to achieve something more meaningful for them and for others. We're talking about Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, okay, Mother Teresa. There's a lot of symbol. Okay, another cognitive strategy you can use to conquer stress is using Socrates' questioning method. You ask when you have a negative thought or ideas or even a belief, you ask yourself, what is the logic underlying it? Is there any evidence for or against what kind of thought? You think that, eventually I will be be infected with the pandemic, with the coronavirus. What is the evidence? So far you stay in your house most of the time. What is the evidence? What is your hypothesis or assumption to conclude that you will eventually get infected? Okay. And sometimes you need to ask, whenever you have some thought like, I will be always poor. Oh, why God punished me? Why my life is karma? Some bad karma is always haunting me. When you have certain beliefs, you need to ask, is this beliefs absolute, oversimplified, or overgeneralized? When you say your life is always like that, just as you tell your husband that you never take trash out, at least in 10 times, he take the trash out once. Okay, but you say, you never take the trash out. Oh, if a husband say to his wife, you always grumpy. No, last night when she lies next to you and snore, she didn't, she's not grumpy. So I'm just kidding. But anyway, we tend to, overgeneralize, oversimplify, and we tend to say something like never, ever, something like that. And it hurts ourselves as well as it hurts. Those speech hurt others. Speech hurt others. Okay. You can identify your belief's origin and consequences. When and where did I learn this belief? From your mom when you were 5 years old? And when you were 5 years old and you put your hand into the candy jar, and then happily you broke the jar, and your mom said, you are a bad boy. You will rub up, glutinous. You will be fat, and useless in life because you eat a lot of candy. Hey, that's what your mom told you when you were 5 years old. And you still believe it, right? So in therapy, sometimes there's a joke. That's the best intervention. They say, whenever the client say anything, the therapist will say, get over it. Get over it. When and where did you learn that belief? You were scolded, criticized by a significant other when you were a kid. And you carry that belief with you until now. Get rid of that. Get over it. Okay? Of course, there's a technique for you to exploit it using the cognitive strategy here, And why do you have that belief? And if it causes you so much pain, why you continue to hold on that? It's time to get rid of that. Okay, push the clear or delete button. Delete all of those. Okay, sometimes you need to erase your cache. I use the computer term here. Empty your cache, or else, your computer will become sluggish. Yeah, empty your cache. All of those beliefs don't help. Okay, and you can ask what evidence does not support this perspective. And you can dispute out the judgment out there. Also, someone criticize you. You say, first of all, does he really understand me in and out? First thing, does he understand my effort? Does he say that with a malicious or a positive, constructive intention? Does he say that when he's in a good mood, or because he's experiencing some stress, he spit out something very bad, very hurtful? Okay, so you can also dispute out the criticism. Emotional strategy. Okay, expose yourself to the emotion. It means face it. Do not run away from that, because emotion, it comes and it goes. I have a saying borrowed from Mahamudra, a Buddhist tradition in Tibet. Okay, be a sky and allow on of the clouds, negative or positive, black or white, comes and go. But you still the sky. You are able to contain all of those clouds, mean your emotion, okay, even your mood. Okay, mindfulness, acknowledge, and accept the emotion. Okay, like the sky. You outline a plan to manage all of your emotion. Okay, you can get rid of the trigger, or you can choose to sit down, face it, and let it observe it calmly and let it go away. And funny thing is, sometimes you need to take the opposite action from the emotion urge you to do. When you cry, you feel like you want to cry, laugh, dance, turn on the unhappy, a song and dance along. Okay? When you take an opposite action, it will give you different mood, different emotion. And there's a lot of research about posture and your mood. You remember the research about like people go into the interview room and they stand with arms stretched like this, and they have all of the masculine posture. It will increase their testosterone and the male hormone, and you feel more confident. So take the opposite position action. It will help. And next, you increase. Do what you bring your positive emotion. Turn on the music. Okay, happy music. Okay, not like how can I tell her by Lobo or something like that. Okay, and then dance, laugh with your friends, telling jokes, to help you with the positive emotion, and identify the outside external trigger, what caused you, to have a negative mood or emotion. If this morning you get up and you feel very bad, okay, identify the triggers. It could be last night because you eat a lot of hot chili. Then you couldn't have a very good sleep. You become agitated this morning. You stay up too late and you have to get up early this morning, so you don't feel good. And sometimes we are confused between our physical and our mental condition. Okay. Next one would be notice. Notice your own and other belief, thoughts, and feelings. We talk about that. Okay. And because sometimes a belief would give you, a down mood. Secondary emotion, the last one, emotions. Formulate a plan to manage your secondary emotion. What is secondary emotion? That an emotion occurs when you react to your first emotion. Like you have fear, and it's normal. But sometimes you feel you are afraid of your fear. You panic when you're afraid, oh, I'm afraid that a panic attack will happen to me. And that fear is sometimes, I would say more fear or fear than the first one. Or if you have an anger, it's appropriate if someone infringe your rights. You are entitled to your anger, but then you feel bad because you practice some kind of, false Buddhist belief that you need to be calm all of the time. And you have anger and you are ashamed of your anger. Or you feel sad about your anger, or even you feel angry about your anger. And that's secondary emotion. Okay. Avoid secondary emotion. It means that most of the time it a result of your cognitive evaluation of your primary emotion. Okay. There are some mindfulness practice that help a lot with uh, stress. So, for instance, like T mindfulness, you can do body scan, you can do mindful breathing, and you can do grounding exercise. Okay. I would invite all of you to participate in the 5 minutes exercise, mindful cup of tea. Okay. If you have a cup of tea in front of you, or you have like myself, I have a bottle of water, and you have a glass of water, what happened, whatever,
I have coffee.
So you have, what do you have, Lord?
I have coffee, latte.
No, you have a coffee with a straw, okay? It helps. In the picture, you see a warm, hot cup of tea. With person, now sit down and listen to my instruction. First of all, you raise your water, tea in front of you and look at that mindfully. Use our visual perception. Attach your eyes on the object and pay attention to the reflection of the lights shining on the surface of the water, the shape of your cup or your mug, the prints on the cup. Completely stay in this moment with your visual perception. Okay. Now bring it lower to your nose. Lift your cup to your nose and take a deep breath and feel the smell of the water or tea or coffee. You can smell the coffee, right? Mm-hmm. You can open the lid and smell the coffee. Take a deep breath and you can smell the coffee as well as the smell, how the smells in your room, and completely stay focused on the smell. At this moment, you are one with the smell. Do you recognize the smell? Okay. With the water, we cannot do much, but sometimes you can raise it and you listen to the sound of water. If you shake the water, you can hear the sound of water splashing to the wall of your cups or your bottle. And completely pay attention to the sound of that. You don't exist. Only your auditory perception exists. Okay. Slower down your cup down and ready to take a sip. And do not drink it right away. Just take a sip and hold the liquid in your mouth and feel it. Let's drink it. Do not swallow it. Use your tongue to swirl the fluid or the liquid around your mouth. Let it wet your gum, your teeth, and feel the taste. It's bitter, it's salty, it's sweet, or what. And sometimes you don't need a term or concept to describe it. Just live in this moment to experience that. Okay, and now slowly you swallow that liquid and you feel your throat open and constrict to take in the liquid. Okay, so it's only 3-4 minutes. That's an exercise, a mindful cup of tea. Right? And with that moment, not a single thought appears if at that moment, not a single thought arises, not a single emotion appears, then that's nirvana. Right at this moment, you live in the truth. Okay? You live with your 5 senses. Some other, we could call it, some other strategy, we could call it behavioral strategy, social strategy. Okay. First of all, keep in touch with relatives and friends. I know that. Social isolation is not something easy to swallow. But if you have a cell phone, if you have Wi-Fi, you can FaceTime, you can WhatsApp, you can Signal, you can, play Messenger with your friends overseas, your relative in your own country. Okay. Remember, rebalance work, life, set up a new meaningful routine, new and meaningful routine. Yes, you cannot, you don't have the old routine anymore. And as I said, most of the time we rely on our routine to feel confidence. Now it's time to have a new and meaningful routine. Limit alcohol and stimulant as consumption. Oh, of course, we tend to rush to, our fridge to grab a beer whenever we feel stressed, or we turn on TV and binge watch, rerun Star Wars, Star Trek rerun, something like that. But no, it would dull your mind. Okay? And you feel like it's something desirable, but it's not. It will elevate the stress level in your body. You need to maintain a healthy social support network by reaching out to your outer expats and even local friends. Limit your news consumption. Watching too much news or reading too much news, and especially negative one, doesn't help much. Okay. Because when you read or you watch, you don't observe how your emotion is aroused, how you are aroused by watching or reading that piece of news. And it will wear you out with that emotional reaction. So limit your news consumption. And also screen time. Use the device to communicate meaningfully with others, not just to swipe. The Facebook likes and dislike and outer status and swipe up. And then 5 minutes later, you ask yourself, what the heck I'm doing now? Why I'm just like swipe up, and I don't read anything. Yeah. I mean, okay. You need to use certain like practice, like body scan. For the limit time. Here I cannot teach you that, but just type in body scan into YouTube. You have a ton of resources over there. You can practice along with guided meditation for body scan. Okay. And you could be mindful with every gesture, action, or habits you have. Okay. What are the picture? First of all, exercise. Okay. It helps, especially certain method like Tai Chi Chuan or yoga. When I say yoga, I say yin yoga. A lot of, it helps a lot with muscle and helps you to release stress. Yin yoga. Relax with your significant others. Okay. Feel good and sleep, rest. Okay. Find time to look through your windows and see nature outside. And pay attention to what you eat. Too much fat, too much carbs, too much spicy things, it's not good for your body unless you exercise a lot. Okay? It could put a strain on your body, especially for those who are at, above like 40 or 50 and with a sedentary, life, living style. Okay. You can improve your engagement with others. Okay. Walking now, they stop the social distancing in Vietnam. You can walk and talking to family or friends, to stranger, friend of stranger in Vietnam. Pay attention to their tone of voice, not only their verbal part, but their tone of voice, their nonverbal communication with you, facial expression, something like that. I'm talking about active listening here, a method, to communicate and to get engaged with others. And notice where you are, who's with you, notice the surrounding. Pay attention to your surrounding, okay? Activity. And you also practice mindfulness when playing with others. Okay, see what comes into your mind, what emotion you have, what behaviors or gesture you have. Okay, and last but not least, need to have a smarter goals. Develop goals that are smarter. Okay, do not have a vague goals with like underlined with perfectionism. I just have some goals limited. What you can do, take a short, for instance, a booster. Next time, visit today. I will and talk to 3 friends. Okay, I will exercise for 10 minutes. All of those are smarter goals. Don't try to attain certain very tall, expectation that you would feel short and you feel depressed. Okay, that. Okay, that's the last slide. Quite a long presentation. I hope that you don't fall asleep. Okay, so now it's time for question and answer. Luan, do you have some question for me or
Uh,
collected from compiled from
yes,
our
I
participants?
Yes, I received a lot of questions from attendees. And first, I would like to thank you for your sharing and information. And I read on the Q&A box, and I see that question from Ngọc Hân. Ngọc Hân said that she is a final year student and have a question that how to manage stress and anxiety during the COVID-19. And I think that your presentation can help her answer that question. But you want to share something others to Ngọc Hân?
Sure, certainly. Just pay attention to different aspect of your existence. First of all, physical. What could you do to relieve stress from your physical situation? Okay, and I'm talking about first somatic. It means that your body. Do you want to put a lot of stress on your body? Do you want? How could you change the body? You know, by exercise, all of those things with good nutrition. You can, and talking about physical, it also has a second meaning of your surrounding. You could arrange furniture, buy some flowers, throw in the vase, all of those things. So it could help with stress, you know. Sometimes taking out old pictures, old letters, and read through that during some rainy evening, it could be nice. So a lot of things you can do to release of stress beside what I mentioned. Approach it from cognitive, physical, emotional, and social, aspect. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Next one.
Next one, I read the question.
Anonymous.
Yes, this is a long question, but I think it is necessary to answer this question. I have used DBT method recently, but I don't think I
It
do it
stands for
properly.
dialectical behavior therapy. For those who don't know,
Yes,
dialectical behavior therapy. Yeah.
but at first, I feel actually good, actually mindful, no stress, no anxiety. Then I have just found myself just transfer them to other field of my mind in the unconsciousness section. I thought I was completely deal with them, but I was wrong. All the horrible things stored in 3 years of my life was automatically released a couple of days ago. But in that moment, I was having no idea that those things was being released. Would you give me any advice to deal with them properly, sir?
DBT or mindfulness is the way of living, of existence. It's not a doses of medication that you can take, and after that, you completely cured or healed from your the suffering. Okay, from your suffering. I mentioned say it again. DBT are other methods. Okay, when you go into a session with the DBT, what other somatic experiencing, Hakomi, MBSR, MBCT, any mindfulness based approaches, you know, please pay attention. That's a new way to perceive and deal with your physical, cognitive, and emotion. And talking about that, I forgot to mention ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy also. It's not a one, first of all, it's not a one size fit all. Secondly, it's not a doses of medication like a Z-Pack, the Z-Pack, like a antibiotic, and you get it for 5 days and it cures your infection. No, it's a way, it's a living style. It's a way of life. You get the diffusion from your cognitive processes. Do not identify it with your thoughts or your beliefs. You look at your emotion, observing that, and see that it comes and it goes. You can always come back to the practice. And when you're familiar with that, you become one with your practice, you will see that, the stressor doesn't hurt you anymore. But what you just mentioned is more important than that. And I would like to point it out, and thank you for asking this question. I would like to point it out for those who are in psychotherapy, who are students of psychotherapies in this forum. When she or he said about what started in 3 years of my life, who was released a couple of days ago, he or she mentioned about trauma, some trauma there. And when you practice mindfulness, especially Vipassana, you allowed your emotion comes up and it slowly open up the Pandora box. Everything buried underneath your consciousness would emerge, especially if it's a trauma that you haven't resolved it. Okay. And how to deal with that? Trauma in the past, okay, can only come to your mind in the quiet moment of reflective. So if it happens, okay, first of all, if you are not strong enough, distract it. You are allowed to distract yourself from those things. Listen to music, open a book and read it, chatting with your friends, and even having a beer with your friend is acceptable. Okay, but don't shopping. We are in the tight time, so no money to do shopping. But you can, first of all, you can distract yourself. Secondly, approach it from a distance. When it appears, think about something happened like a year before that, a month before that. Do not jump right into the moment of trauma. Okay? Approach it from a distance. And that's a technique they call it titration, like in chemistry. If there's what's the name of that? Exothermic reaction. It means that once that you mix water and acids, it will explode. So in that case, you need to use titration. It means that remember what happened for you 3 years ago, one step at a time. And when it becomes unbearable, it becomes unbearable, distract yourself. Think of something soothing. If you are religious, you can think of, Christ. You can read the Father prayer, okay? Or if you are Buddhist, you can do the same thing. I mean, to calm yourself down. It's good, okay? And then you can come back and to visit it. So you are allowed to distract yourself. But if it becomes severe, I strongly recommend that you need to have a psychotherapist who are trained to deal with trauma, developmental trauma, PTSD, or other types of trauma, because not only psychotherapists are trained to deal with trauma. And seemed to me like what happened 3 years ago is severe enough for you to, to be fearful of us. And in the time of need like this, the time of stress like this during the pandemic, that's most likely it will re-emerge. Okay. But first of all, keep in mind, it cannot harm you. The only time it can harm you is when you allowed it to take over you. You have the ability to control it. It's only images and thoughts. Okay? If you live completely with your five senses in this moment, being grounded in this moment, place, and time, they are just neural impulses. Okay. Looking at from the neuroscience perspective, they are just neural impulses. Okay. Yeah. And best with to you. I feel the pain of, trauma. So I share that with you. Okay. Now we have Phúc Quách Diễm. Eating something when you have stress,
Hello,
that's
Dr.
not a good way.
Oh, okay.
That's not a
Sorry.
good.
Sorry.
Okay, you read that question, right?
No. I just wait a minute because attendees ask you to turn off your share screen so they can see you clearly.
I need to turn off my share screen
Yeah.
so they can see my ugly big face. Okay, that's why.
They want to see you.
Oh, okay. They want to see me.
Yes, you can continue with the next question, Phúc Quách Diễm. And I receive a lot of questions from a fan page, so I can collect it and send to you.
Okay.
Yes.
Diễm, Phúc, or whatever. Your first name, your last name must be Quack, right? And not say quack. In English, quack doesn't sound good. Okay, just joking. Now you understand the physiological and the neural, reaction or mechanism during stress. And you know that when you are stressed, your sympathetic nervous system is activated. It's time your digestive system stops. So do not eat during stress unless you want to gain several pounds after the time of stress, or you want to have after that you have a stomach ache all the time, stomach problem with acid reflux all of the time. Do not eat. You can have something light, a piece of fruit or something like that, and drink a lot of water, and then exercise. Exercise until you sweat like a pig. Oh, that's an expression. Then all of the chemical will go out your body with the sweat. Okay, so do not eat during your stress. Okay, that's my recommendation, and you know why. Now you have information or knowledge about your nervous system. Okay.
Yes.
How can we help people exhausted because of stress? In this presentation, I share a lot of techniques, okay? A ton of information you can share, okay? The information with them. That's the way you can help people. Do not give advices, like cheap advices, like, oh, there's nothing to be stressed about. Oh, you need to be, you stop stressing, use yourself out, or, oh, get over it. No, those are cheap advices. Do not sit down with him or her, listen to him or her, and then provides your knowledge and skill. Say that I know certain coping strategy to deal with stress. Do you want me to share that with you? Okay. If not, let me continue to listen with an open heart, open mind. With if we want to use a term in psychology, with an unconditional positive regard. Open your heart, open your shoulders for someone to lean on. Okay. And that's much better than giving out cheap, officious, pedantic advices. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other question? I don't see any other question.
Yes, and Phúc Quách Diệm sent you a message on the chat box that thank you, sir, that enlightened me a lot.
Thank you.
I see that a large number of questions I receive the same meaning with the question of Ngọc Hân. And how can we reduce stress when COVID-19 pandemics? And I think that your presentation and your sharings can help them to answer that question and take care of themselves. And before the program ends, do you have any message for the audience?
Have a sense of humor. Have a sense of humor. Life is short. Okay, what can we do?
Yeah.
Okay, have a sense of humor with your friends and share time with your significant others, and believe in yourself. The ABCDE, yeah. Accept the reality, believe in yourself, commit to learn, dare to take risk, and elevate yourself to the next level of existence. And we still have each other out there. I mean, I came back to Vietnam to stay for a while in the past 3 years. And most of my friends are new friends, those who I have acquaintance with in the past 4 years. And when I treat them nicely, they treat me nicely, and I feel that I can rely on them emotionally. Sometimes we rely too much on those we believe that having like a social or a biological relationship, but everything in life we can rely on to see the meaning and see the meaning in it, and also we can rely on that. I have a sample, like I have a way of saying, like when you walk in, like Hanoi now is very cold, and if you walk in the cold and it happens that there's sunshine and you walk into the flood of pool of sunshine, you feel warm, and you need to appreciate. You need to be aware of that moment, and you need to pay attention to that moment 2 ways. You need to acknowledge, okay, that moment, and you need to appreciate that moment. The 4 A's acronym again, the 4 A's of life, that you enjoy life at each moment. Do I have stress? Yes, once in a while, but it goes away very quickly. Emotional resilience is important. If you're upset that you are stressed, I mean, that's ridiculous. You need to, you go living through life for sure. You will have anger, you have sadness, and that's very human being. A human being needs to experience all of that. But more important for a healthy mental being is the emotional resilience, the ability to spring back to the normal, calm and cool condition. And that's, we can do that. I guarantee we can do that. Starting with what I share with you in the past 2 hours. Okay? Okay.
Thank you for your message, and it is meaningful for me too. And I think the audience can receive your message and can take care themselves, especially mental health. And thank you, Dr. Lei, for your sharing. And that is the last question for Q&A section today. All the questions we will collect and prepare for upcoming webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, through the program, we hope you have a better understanding of stress and its effect on our physical and mental health, and as well as how to take care of ourselves, seek help when in need, and overcome difficulties. Once again, I would like to thank Dr. Lei for taking time to join the mental vaccination program of us. And thank you for paying attention.